Okay, y'all, I just did that all and I was on mute. Let's start over. So, my name is Ronnie, and this is True Crime and Celebrity News. And today is Friday, October 17th, 2025. I'm coming to you today with the case of Jacqueline Mimi Torres. Very sad what happened to her. Very, very sad. But before we get started, if you could please like, share, and leave a comment. Maybe some, her favorite color was blue. So I did all the writing in blue. If you could just leave a comment, some hearts, some blue hearts for little Mimi. And I don't know. I guess I'm just confused on what could have happened between the time that she disappeared till the time she was found. Where was this little girl failed? Where was she failed? What happened? So I made a timeline of events because I had a lot to do this morning while I was waiting for the internet guy to come fix my stuff. And I hope you guys can read it. I don't know why her picture was at the bottom. I'm still learning. But I did oh. No, you can leave those blue hearts. I don't know why that bot thing said that. But her name is Jacqueline Mimi Torres. She was 12 years old. And the time of events was Jacqueline was withdrawn from school. She would have started the 6th grade. Her mother, Carla Garcia, filed notices withdrawing her from school on August 26, 2024, to start homeschooling. Now, we all know what that means. Not in all cases, but in most. If you're into true crime, you know that if CPS is in that child's life and that parent takes that child out of school to start homeschooling, we all know what that means. Something's going on at home. Why wasn't CPS checking in on this child? Where was she failed? At what point between 2024, August 26th, and the day they found her? What happened? What happened to her? 2, police believe Jacqueline was physically abused and malnourished before her death in fall of 2024. Again, if you're into true crime, we all know this is what happens. We all know. Tony says, "What does Nightbot mean?" I'm not. I know. I don't know why it's saying that. I'll have to look into it. You're not. I'm sorry. I don't know why it's saying that. I apologize. I don't know why. I just started it up. I'm sure it needs some tweaking. I know you're not spamming. But we all know that they are being abused and malnourished. Most of the time, the food is being kept or hidden or locked up. The refrigerator's locked up. I mean, come on. I'm not into law enforcement or child protective services. And by all means, if that girl would have been taken out of that school, I would have been on top of it. Number 3, police believe she was kept in the family's basement in Farmington until she was relocated in March of 2025. So she must have been in the basement, then moved to yep. CPS drops the ball on so many of these child abuse cases. Look what happened in Little Harmony, Montgomery. This was in the same area as Harmony, I believe, wasn't it? I do believe it was. I do believe that this is pretty close. I'll have to look. I'm not sure. Number 4, the police believe the bulk of the crimes happened in Farmington. So, on October 8th, a 911 call comes in reporting it was Jonathan, dropping off items, including a plastic storage bin on an abandoned property on Clark Street. So unfortunately, October 10th, police come out saying that the remains in the plastic bin did belong to a young girl. October 12th, Carla Garcia was arrested, charging her with murder. And then on October 12th, Jacqueline Garcia, 28, was arrested, charged with risk of injury to a child and cruelty to persons under 19 and unlawful restraint. Number 9, police hold news conference, still looking for Carla's boyfriend. Number 10, on October 13th, 2025, police arrest 30-year-old Jonathan Anita, believed to be the one dropping off the items on Clark. So do you think that she made him be the one to do it because he was the one that was part of what's all over? It's all over. What's all over? He is charged with murder, and special circumstances and conspiracy. On October 14th, all 3 appeared before the court. Carla was given a $5 million bond. Jacqueline was given a $1 million bond. Now, the reason why the 2 bonds are different is because they said that Carla had more to do with what happened to Jacqueline than what Jacqueline did, her sister. And the next court date is on November 14th. And if they do it live, I will be covering it. Oh, yeah. I mean, CPS covering child abuse cases, they could send the neighbor out and probably do a better job. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, this should have never have happened, especially after the Harmony Montgomery case. This should have never have happened. And this is so upsetting. Like, and it's the CPS failing these children. They're supposed to be there to help them, but they're not. They're just not. They're failing these children. You know? And it's so upsetting. Okay. So I have some things that I got from, why is that doing that? Maybe because I need to stop it. Covering her case. So the family before, because the dad is saying that he last saw her in January of 2025. There's no way. They are declaring her is gone in 2024. So there's no way he would have seen her. Yeah, and I get that CPS is overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed everywhere. And especially now with the government cuts, and unfortunately it's your DHS workers, your social, the people that work in Social Security. They're all the ones that are going to get cut. And then you're going to see more kids being hurt because the people aren't showing up at the houses doing checks. It's just a roller. It's like, it's a constant battle. You know, I mean, they're supposed to be there to help these children, but they're not, because they're sent home because there's no money to pay them. And that's unfortunate. It really is. Like, our CPS workers should be the last ones to ever be cut. And they should have enough CPS workers to cover everybody, you know, like 10 cases for each person. Our children are important. They're not they're just not disposable. And that's what I'm beginning to think that our government thinks our children are, because they just don't care. And they are overwhelmed, you know, they're very overwhelmed. Let's go to YouTube and get there. You know, I had all this stuff pulled up. You know, when I had my last neck surgery, and at the university, it's a big hospital, a really big hospital. And I got to give it to the nurses, because, you know, she was telling me they work 12-hour days, and she had practically the one half of the floor was hers. And I typically don't bother people, you know, I just want to be left alone. Just bring me my meds when I need them. Or I will remind you when it's time. But, you know, even nurses, they're underpaid for the amount of work they do. I mean, it's crazy how they run around saving lives. I mean, they're saving lives. And so could the CPS workers. Had they showed up to this girl's house like they were supposed to, you know, I understand that the mom probably moved all over the place and they couldn't keep up with their addresses. But had they kept up, they could have kept her alive. Maybe not in the same way a nurse would, but in a way that a CPS worker should, you know? So let's watch a few videos up of YouTube concerning the case. God, I feel like I totally forgot how to work this. Oh, I bet you did, Tony. I bet you did. I bet you cared about your patients and made sure that they were taken care of, made sure that, you know, they were, and, you know, even the CNAs, they work hard too, you know. I just don't get why these important workers are put before the police department is put before your CPS workers and your nurses and all that. Why? Their job ain't any more important than a nurse's job. Nope. I just think changes need to come. And I really thought that some changes would come with the Harmony Montgomery. You know, I really, really thought. No. So we'll go with the aunt first and her charges.
Outside of an abandoned building. Among the suspects in that case, the girl's mother and aunt.
News 8's Brittany Taylor joining us live now in New Britain with the latest from the courthouse and how community is honoring the life of this little girl. Brittany, good morning. What can you tell us?
Good morning, Lauren, Keith. Yeah, this is such a heartbreaking story. We're here on Clark Street in New Britain, just outside of the home where the remains of 12-year-old Jacqueline Torres Garcia, otherwise known as Mimi, were discovered inside of a plastic storage container. And as you can see behind me, there's been a huge outpouring of support. This is one of the biggest memorials that I've ever seen in my time here. You can see that it's growing day by day, lots of balloons, lots of candles, teddy bears, truly a very somber sight here on Clark Street. Now, I want to take you back to court yesterday in Torrington. This is where we saw an outburst of anger and frustration. Take a listen.
Get out of here. Get out of the courtroom. Leave the courtroom. Leave the courtroom now. Get out of the courtroom.
Now, a lot of commotion there. Supporters packing the court gallery, quick to make comments about the accused despite warnings from the judge. The little girl's mother, Carla Garcia, has been charged with murder and cruelty. Garcia's boyfriend, Jonathan Nanita, also facing murder charges. And Mimi's aunt, Jacqueline Garcia, charged with cruelty. The cause of the girl's death has yet to be determined. Now, all three of those suspects do have prior criminal convictions. Jacqueline Garcia, the aunt, was on parole for risk of injury to a minor, with the victim being an infant. Court documents show that torture was involved in that crime. News 8 spoke to one of her neighbors. Take a listen.
Wow.
Knew there was a baby there, and like we would see her carry the car seat, and that was pretty much it. And baby wasn't here long. There was a couple of nights where her and her boyfriend were laying in bed, and our bedroom's right above theirs, and they were just sobbing, "Why me?" and that kind of stuff. And I thought the baby died.
All three suspects are currently being held on bond, and they're scheduled to appear in court next on November 14th. And this Friday, the community, the Jeep community, I should say, will be holding a peaceful memorial ride in honor of Mimi. That's going to be taking place here in New Britain at 220 East Main Street at 5 p.m. Live in New Britain this morning, Brittany Taylor, News 8.
Wow, so the aunt has already been in prison for hurting a child. Why was she even allowed around Mimi? What happened here? All right, y'all, I'm going to play this bit. Somebody's knocking at my door. God, people.
Let me start by thanking all of you for joining us here today. I want to start this press conference by offering my condolences to those dealing with all of the emotions and frustrations around and surrounding these absolutely terrible circumstances. Our prayers and our thoughts go to the family. From the beginning, every agency that was involved in this investigation has been in constant communication with one another and worked tirelessly towards one common goal. And I can say that now, our goal has always been to seek justice for Jacqueline Torres. I want to thank the men and women that are standing behind me who have been working around the clock to get us to this point. There have been a very concerning amount of rumors and mistruths that have been posted all over social media, and our goal today is to provide you with as many of the facts as we can. On a personal note, as a mother, this makes me sick to my stomach to be standing here today with what we're about to tell you. On Wednesday, October 8th, when a report of suspicious activity at 80 Clark Street in New Britain came in from an anonymous caller requesting police, responding officers had no idea what they would be walking into. This caller reported suspicious activity at a known abandoned house in their neighborhood. This house had been vacant for over 2 years. It is owned by an out-of-state landlord from New York. None of those determined to be involved with this case have ever resided at this property. I want to thank the initial caller for speaking up, for having the courage to say something. Without that initial call, no one can say for certain where we would be at this point in time. I want to welcome to the podium the Farmington Town Council Chair, Joe Capadefero, to offer a few words.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Joe Capadefero, the Town Council Chair of Farmington. I can't really add too much more to what the mayor just said, but first, I also want to offer my condolences to everybody that's been affected in this tragedy. This type of investigation not only has affected the community, but also all that have worked in this investigation to bring justice for Jacqueline. I want to thank the members of the Farmington Police Department, the Brighton Police Department, Connecticut State Police, the state's attorney's offices of New Britain and Litchfield, and the chief of.
Okay, so her comment, the lady that talked first, said that they're working hard. They're working real hard. Okay, why don't you take that enthusiasm and get them before something happens to them? Had you worked that hard to get to her house and check on her after her parents pulled her out and started homeschooling her, when we all know, I'm sure there's statistics somewhere about how many children have been murdered after they've been taken out to be homeschooled.
Medical examiner's office, and I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you for your partnership and all the cooperation with the town of Farmington. This time, I'd like to invite to the podium the Chief of Police of the City of New Britain, Matthew Marino.
Thank you, Mayor. First, on behalf of all the men and women here from the New Britain Police Department and the Farmington Police Department, I'd like to echo the Mayor's initial remarks and offer our sincerest condolences to those impacted by this tragedy. There are no words that can make sense of a situation like this. Since October 8th, it has been the goal of every law enforcement agency involved to seek justice. While the limited information provided until today undoubtedly resulted in increased frustration across our communities, the purpose was to avoid any potential damage to the integrity of this investigation. To suggest any other explanation is an unfair judgment on the people you see standing behind me. This was not easy for anyone, and we should all take the time to recognize that their efforts are what brought us to this point, less than a week later. Now I'd like to give everyone a bit of a timeline. After responding officers made their initial discovery, the property of 80 Clark Street was established as a crime scene. Based on discussions with the New Britain State's Attorney's Office, the Connecticut State Police Central District Major Crimes Unit was requested to assist with processing this scene. At that time, the remains discovered inside the plastic storage bin were in an advanced state of decomposition. As a result, arrangements were made with the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner for assistance. Members of our detective division continued to piece together what limited information was available to better determine a timeline and possible sequence of events leading up to our initial response. Through a cooperative and intensive investigation involving our department, the Farmington Police Department, Connecticut State Police, the Office of the State's Attorney for the Judicial Districts of Litchfield and New Britain, and the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, the child we found was positively identified as 12-year-old Jacqueline Torres. Now, while our efforts continued, we were made aware of and monitored several pieces of information circling different social media outlets, and I'd like to dispel some of those rumors. At no point during the course of this investigation was anyone arrested then released. Several individuals were brought in for interviews at different times over the last 5 days, but no official arrests were made until last night. At no point were requests for information being ignored. The limited information provided since last Wednesday came after careful consideration and much conversation with every agency involved, with the sole purpose of seeking justice for Jacqueline by not compromising any part of this investigation. Any notifications that were made carefully by law enforcement officers in accordance with state guidelines and not done in any way that could create doubt or conflict regarding procedure being followed. And now at this time, I'd like to turn the podium over to Chief Paul Melanson of the Farmington Police Department, who has additional information.
Thank you. Investigators from the Farmington Police Department, with the assistance from the New Britain Police Department, have determined that Jacqueline likely died in the fall of 2024 while her family was still residing in Farmington. Evidence indicates that Jacqueline was the victim of prolonged physical abuse.
Okay, so I gotta make sure I'm on up mute. So they moved from the house that maybe she was murdered in, put in the bin, kept her for a year in the basement. Then they moved her to the new place and then brought her back in the bin. And then somebody had seen the bin sitting outside the house. But I think that house had nothing to do with them, the one that she was found in. I don't think so.
In malnourishment prior to her death. It is also believed that following her death, Jacqueline's body was kept in the family's basement and subsequently moved when the family relocated from Farmington in March of 2025. As a result of our investigation, 2 individuals have been taken into custody in connection with Jacqueline's death. Jacqueline's mother, Carla Garcia, was located last night by members of the Farmington and New Britain Police Departments and arrested on the strength of an arrest warrant charging her with Connecticut General Statute 53A-54B, which is murder with special circumstances, along with several other additional charges. Carla's sister, Jacqueline Garcia, was also arrested and charged with Connecticut General Statute 53-20, cruelty to persons under 19 years of age, along with other related charges. Jonathan Nanita, Carla's boyfriend, has an active arrest warrant, which is also charging him with 53A, 54B murder with special circumstances, amongst other charges. Additionally, the New Britain Police Department also has obtained an arrest warrant charging Jonathan.
So do you think he played the bigger part in the unaliving of little Jacqueline? I'm beginning to think so. Just wish I knew for sure. Allegedly. I have to say allegedly. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty in the court of law.
With 53A-155 tampering with physical evidence for actions taken leading up to the initial police response to 80 Clark Street and the subsequent discovery in the rear yard. A complete list of charges for each of the individuals will be made available at the end of the remarks. But out of respect for all those affected and to ensure the integrity, like Chief Marino had said, of the ongoing investigation, we will not be releasing further details at this time. This case is a deeply heartbreaking and disturbing case. Our detectives, with our local and state partners, have worked tirelessly to uncover the truth and to bring justice for Jacqueline. No child should ever have to endure such suffering. On behalf of the New Britain and Farmington Police Departments, we extend our deepest condolences to all who have been affected by this tragedy.
Thank you, Chief. Today is about providing the facts that we have available from here. The court system will take it and prosecute to the highest extent of the law. I'd like to again send our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Jacqueline Torres, and I would like to open it up for questions now.
Can you tell us the bonds on the individuals?
$5 million.
For 2 already, and
So, Carla Garcia is a $5 million bond. Jacqueline Garcia is a $1 million bond. And we have yet to pick up, and we are asking for the public's assistance in locating Jonathan. And he does have a $5 million bond on his also.
Are they both expected in court tomorrow?
Yes.
Chief, can you talk anything about motive, anything along those lines at all? What happened here?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think, much like Chief Melanson had said, it's important at this point to leave out some of those major details involved in this case in order to allow for the entire investigation to play itself out.
Have there been any reports that she'd been missing? Had anybody raised concerns, either from school districts or anybody, about where she'd been for months?
No.
Can you share?
No.
Can you share anything about the history of any of the people involved, as far as the criminal history or any prior interactions with law enforcement?
Yeah, involving some of their criminal histories, we do have limited involvement with each of the people that are involved. Some of it dates back a couple of years, some more recent. I can tell you that the most recent interaction we have was a simple motor vehicle stop that resulted in an infraction. but there was not much more than that.
Can you tell us if DCF, do you know if DCF was called prior to any of this? Do they have a case with them? I know you can't give details, but was DCF, do they have a case prior?
Yep, DCF was involved.
Or prior to this going on, they had involvement with the family?
Yes.
Is there a second child involved in the probably the sister, and you need to talk about this?
As far as this investigation is concerned, there's no other reports involving any of the other children that are involved.
Are any other children safe, from this family?
Yeah, during our investigation, contact was made and all of the other children were determined to be safe.
Can one of the chiefs talk about the toll this takes on the men and women dealing with this kind of a case and what you found?
Wow. Everybody else is okay.
So, I mean,
Poor little Jacqueline.
obviously, we handle many types of crimes in our line of work. The ones with kids are probably the most difficult. And obviously, the people standing behind me have been working since this call came in nonstop, 24/7. So it takes a toll mentally, physically, and it's very difficult for us to contemplate how this can happen in a civilized society like ours. So 35 years, this is probably one of the worst cases that we've had to, I think the facts that you have, that she probably died a long time ago and was stowed away is probably enough to show you what we are dealing with here. So yes, very, very difficult on everybody handling these cases.
Has the report come back from the medical examiner's office in terms of cause and manner?
No, so we currently have just a verbal right now, but obviously any official report will wait for toxicology results and other sorts of things. So we won't have any reports from the medical examiner for a short period of time other than their verbal report to the detectives. And I won't get too far into it. We have sealed the warrants because we are asking anybody who has any other information. People have called since this has been publicized, and we're really asking for anybody else who has any information to come forward and contact either the New Britain or Farmington Police Department, whoever you're comfortable with contacting. We are working hand in hand, and everybody had said it. Our goal from the start of this was to bring justice for whoever murdered Jacqueline, and that's what we think that we have started to do last night by taking two into custody. But this doesn't end here, right? Like any investigation like this, this will go on and on for the days, months, and actually years to come. So we will still continue to look up any lead that we can. But we really do need anybody who has any information about this to please contact details, because we are looking for people to come.
Do we know exactly?
No, not specifically. We do have, like the mayor touched on, the initial caller that called in. Those are circumstances and details that are part of the overall investigation. Again, we thank that caller for coming forward. It took a lot of courage to do that based on what we've learned since our initial response. But like Chief Melanson has said, a lot of those finer details are going to remain with the case while the court process plays itself out.
Are you able to clarify who allegedly killed her and who then allegedly moved the body then to New Britain?
So if you look at the charges, you will see that both Carla and Jonathan were both charged with murder and conspiracy to commit murder. So I think that speaks for itself.
When you do this, I know you said Jonathan Bonita, can we have that spelled out and we want to make that call out to the public?
And I will give you afterwards, there are some copies of a press release which have actually the mugshots, the charges for the two who were arrested, and also the charges for Jonathan and his descriptors. But the last name is Nanita.
Does anyone know when the last time she was seen or at school?
I'm going to be very careful with where we go with that. That's a part of a large part of the investigation. There's been some information that's come forward between being removed from one school and entering another to being homeschooled. So I don't have the absolute specifics on that, but a lot of those finer details have come from the investigative steps taken by the men and women behind me and are part of both affidavits that were presented to the state's attorney's office and the judge.
So at some point, somebody indicated they were homeschooling this child. Now, you also mentioned in March of 2025, the family moved, so the remains were moved. Where did they move to? Do we know what town?
Again, that's also a part of this large-scale investigation that we'd like to keep those details as part of the affidavits. Again, touching on what Chief Melanson touched on, paying attention to the charges and the additional arrest warrant that we have for Jonathan Nanita. He was charged with tampering with evidence, which involves a large part of what you were asking.
We did say two were arrested yesterday. What was the state of the mom? Was she surprised when she found? Was she?
Both were taken into custody without incident. There were additional interviews that took place, and then they were turned over to the Farmington Police Department, and they are expected in court tomorrow.
Which court? This court? Here or Hartford?
Litchfield.
Litchfield.
And so recently, as of October 1st, Farmington has fallen under the Litchfield Court District. So that's why we said we were working with the New Britain, obviously for what had transpired here. And previously we had been a part of the Hartford Judicial District, and now as of October 1st, we're a part of Litchfield Judicial District. So that's why we have been working with them. They will be presented tomorrow morning, the two that we have arrested. So Litchfield.
Can you just clarify the suspicious activity that took place last week that was reported? Did that involve any of the suspects, or was that something else?
That involved the behavior that was witnessed in the rear property of 80 Clark Street. Again, more of the details have come out over the course of each investigation playing out with everybody involved. But the initial reports were that someone was in the rear of the property dropping off items to include that storage.
Was there any sort? We know she probably had physical abuse, malnutrition. Was there any sort of mutilation or anything to the body?
Not that we're aware of, no.
Lisa, just to answer the question you had about the school, just more directly, the last known registered schooling that she had was homeschool.
Thank you.
Any kind of reason so far as why this property in particular was chosen to discard the remains?
Abandoned. There's no connection. The property was no connection. We presume that it was a known abandoned property in the neighborhood, and the property owner is a absentee landlord from New York.
So the implication here is that he was dropping off this container the other day and somebody reported it?
Any other questions? Thank you all.
Okay, so I was going over some things in my head, and that was a bad idea. I should have jotted them down because I'm horrible at remembers. COVID really messed with my brain this time. But I wanted to tell you, Sheila, that Nightbot is working, but it told Tony to stop spamming when I told her to leave hearts. Oh boy. Okay, so yeah, don't forget to hit the like button, everybody. So they were saying in that interview that the charges and stuff speak for themselves. I get that. I understand that. So the mom was the main aggressor, if you look at the charges, because she was charged with the murder, and the boyfriend was charged with conspiracy, but he was also charged with murder too. So they had to have both been in charge, both worked on it together. So I was reading about the statistics and children being homeschooled. They really don't have one because I guess maybe it just takes too much time. But pretty much it just says that in 2017, analysis reviewed by the National Home Education Research Institute reported that legally homeschooled students have a 40% lower child abuse fatality rate than the national average. An analysis comparing fatality rates from 2003 to 2012 found that legally homeschooled students died of child abuse and neglect at a rate of 40% lower than the average student nationally. This analysis separated legally homeschooled children from the parents whose parents falsely claimed to homeschool them. So saying that they are taking them to homeschool because there's abuse and stuff going on. And I did see a video about the grandma. She was really upset. She fought to get Jacqueline. Then the mom got physical custody of her in June of 2025, and she was murdered or no longer with us in the fall of 2025. So there wasn't too many months in between her getting her and her no longer being with us. So that's sad. I was trying to find the one with the grandma. And there's also a study now where Connecticut is looking in at what's going on with the homeschooling and why the program is being failed. So hopefully, they'll figure something out. Here's the court hearing. I wanted to go through that.
Yeah, she was 28 years of age, residing in Brooklyn, has been there for 2 months. From resident state of Connecticut. Not currently employed at this time, was looking for warehouse style work. Does have high school education, a little bit beyond that as well. Some medical issues reports are no mental health issues reported. With regards to cases, she is currently on parole. There is a parole remand lodge. She's on parole out of the case for New Britain, but on September 11th. So she pled out in New Britain, September 11th, 2024, risk of injury to a child, 10 years, after 18 months of serve.
I don't know why this woman was even around.
The has been lodged. The max date for that parole is April 19th of 2026. That is her only criminal conviction on this matter. Bond was set at $1 million. Bail would recommend at least that bond remain set for $1 million.
I did review this warrant, given the facts and circumstances of the case, nature of the charges, the criminal history, the state is going to ask that bond remain as set on the warrant at $1 million. State would ask for the following non-financial conditions of release. She's had no contact with Jonathan Mendica or Carla Garcia. She's had no contact with NG, date of birth April 25th, 2014. JN, date of birth April 2nd, 2021. MN, date of birth September 22nd, 2022. And AN, date of birth January 7th, 2025. We'd ask that she be ordered to cooperate with any DCF investigation and ask that this bond be posted only at court.
Okay. And
I don't know what's wrong with their
provide those initials and dates of birth to the clerk's office.
Yes, sir, I have provided them to the clerk's office
She's
and.
forcing herself.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with those conditions of release or the no contact. My concern is the cooperation with DCF, obviously.
I'm not.
Okay, thank you. Judge, not a lot of money for bond, the total pool, obviously. Just ask for a reasonable bond.
I was not, when I watched this the first time, I was noticing how that police officer was looking at her. Like, what are you crying for? You knew that this was going to happen.
I am not going to order cooperation with DCF to the extent that I think that could have an impact on her privilege and self-incrimination. So, of course, we'll be fine to enter that order as a condition of the release.
Judge, I think 11/14 would be appropriate.
Okay, this matter is continued to November 14th.
And if I could have the health and fitness, please.
Mental health funding.
No, they are not.
Yes, you can transfer the party for that. Yes, Your Honor, Ms. Carla Garcia.
You know, she's not upset because of what she
Presently
did.
resides in New Britain.
She's
She is a
upset
lifetime
because of
resident of
where
the state of Connecticut.
she knows she ain't never going to be out.
Education reported to our office. No substance use issues, mental health issues have been reported. Regards to cases, no pending matters, Your Honor. Last conviction is April 2019, and out of New Britain, assault of third degree. She was placed on 1 year suspended, 2 years probation. No other criminal record found for Ms. Garcia. With regards to this matter, bond was set at $5 million. That bond appears appropriate. I recommend that bond remain as set. Attorney Wilfer?
Again, the court did raise the warrant in the matter. Given the facts and circumstances of the case, the nature of the charges, since after that bond remains as set at $5 million, she just asked for special conditions of no contact with Jonathan, Anita, or Jacqueline Garcia, no contact with NG, date of birth April 25th, 2014, JN, date of birth April 2nd, 2021, MN, date of birth September 22nd, 2022, and AN, date of birth January 7th, 2025. State requesting that, again, she be ordered to cooperate with any DCF investigation and that this bond be posted only at court. Again, Judge, the same objection to the DCF cooperating with DCF, we have no issue with their contracts.
Okay. Attorney O'Neill,
She looks rough. I don't know what's up with the volume. Why it's doing that.
Yes, Judge.
Is she aware of that?
We talked to briefly.
Are you prepared to have the court schedule that probable cause hearing today?
No, Judge, we'd be asking to have the excludable time at this point.
So, what court may grant the request?
11/14.
Now, with respect to the probable cause hearing, is there an objection to the court excluding the time between today and November 14th? The time within which that hearing must be held.
No, Judge, we have investigation.
Okay, so the time between now and November 14th is excluded for purposes of calculating the time in which probable cause hearing must be held. It's set bond at $5 million cash or surety, and add the no contact conditions as requested by the state. Bond is going to be in order posted at court only. I, again, am not going to order that she cooperate with DCF to the extent that such an order may implicate the privilege against self-incrimination. Matter is transferred to Part A and continued to November 14th.
Thank you, Judge. With the Marshal Commission, can I follow Ms. Garcia?
Just a second.
Counsel, just a moment, please.
When it comes to federal counsel is authorized. Thank you, Judge. Thank you. Mr. Judge. Yes, Your Honor. So Mr. Manita is 30 years old. Reports he's currently homeless in the New Britain area, has resided in Connecticut his entire life. No needs of support, some high school education reported, not any substance use or mental health issues. The purpose of the matters, he has a warrant outstanding out of New Britain Police Department, dated the warrant was October 11th of this year, destroying or tampering with evidence. The bond on that matter is $750,000. So again, that's still outstanding at the New Britain Police Department. Most recent convictions, December 9th of 2022 out of New Britain, interfering 364 days jail consecutive, reckless endangerment in the first degree on the same file, again, 364 days jail consecutive. He also had a violation of probation. The probation was terminated on that same date. Underlying charge was burglary in the first degree. He pled out that 2014 out of GA 15. It was 12 years after 6 years to serve 5 years probation. Again, another violation of probation. The probation was terminated the same date, December 9th of 2022. The underlying charge was burglary in the second degree, 5 years jail. Larceny first on that file, which was originally 12 years after 6 years to serve, 5 years probation. In addition, he had another burglary in the second degree conviction in 2015. On this matter, same thing, the bond was set at $5 million. That appears appropriate. Recommend at least that bond remain as set.
Your Honor, did review this warrant, given the facts and circumstances of the case, the nature of the charges, this defendant's criminal history. State is asking that bond remain as set at $5 million. State is asking for non-financial conditions of release. Defendant have no contact with Carla Garcia or Jacqueline Garcia. The defendant have no contact with NG, date of birth April 25th, 2014. No contact with JN, date of birth April 2nd, 2021. No contact with MN, date of birth September 22nd, 2022. And no contact with AN, date of birth January 7th, 2025. That the defendant be ordered to cooperate with any DCF investigation and that this bond be posted only at court.
He's unemployed, he's homeless right now, he's generally does warehouse work. He has no means to make any kind of a bond. We would ask for a reasonable bond be set. We want to echo Attorney O'Neill's request that he not be ordered to cooperate with DCF.
Attorney Longwell understands that he has right to a probable cause hearing. Are you prepared to have the court set a date for that probable cause hearing?
We're not, Judge, but we are willing to reduce legal time.
And I'm going to be continuing this to November 14th. So it's my understanding is you have no objection for the time between now and November 14th. So it's excluded for purposes of calculating the time within which that probable cause hearing must be held.
No, Judge.
Okay.
I would just note that November 14th is a Friday. Do you want to keep it on the following Tuesday or keep it on Friday?
We're going to keep it on November 14th.
Understood.
Oh, well, I guess that's over. They just end it. I really want to do the one where the grandma was speaking. She was really heartbroken over what happened. I can never figure out how.
Let me start by thanking all of
charged in connection to the death of a 12-year-old girl appearing before a judge in New Britain.
Police reason.
6'9"
for her murder.
What she did was totally unacceptable, inhumane, disgusting.
Exclusive tonight, we're hearing from a family member of Jacqueline Torres, the girl whose remains were found in New Britain last week. Her own mother arrested for her murder. Good evening, and thanks for joining us tonight for Eyewitness News at 6. I'm Erin Connolly.
Hi, everybody. I'm Stephanie Simone. The heartbreaking developments in this case continue. Yaxie Garcia, the aunt to both Jacqueline and her mother, is now sharing intimate details about the family.
And your reporter Owen Kingsley sat down exclusively with her. He is joining us now live in New Britain. Owen.
A week since this memorial right behind me outside of the New Britain home where Jacqueline Torres' remains were found when this memorial began, now overflowing with balloons and trinkets from her father and mother.
What police revealed to us is that she was starved and abused.
Right.
What goes through your heart as a family member?
Disgusted. Disgusted. I'm thinking, what was this little girl thinking? Her last moments, how fearful she was.
In 1 week since the discovery of Jacqueline Torres' remains, we've learned she likely died about a year ago, and her mother, Carla Garcia, is accused of hiding her body since then. Yaxie Garcia is only 11 years older than her niece, Carla. She says she helped raise her, as well as Carla's sister, Jacqueline Garcia. She met Jonathan Nanita years ago when they began dating. She had heard from family that Jonathan had abused Carla.
He was beating on her, doing some crazy stuff to her.
Yaxie Garcia says Jacqueline Torres was largely raised by her father's side of the family, but Carla gained custody of her about 3 years ago, bringing her into a household with her and Jonathan.
When I found out that Carla had custody of Mimi, my jaw dropped, and I said, how?
Despite having gone on family vacations with one another, the family drifted apart in recent years. And Yaxie says Carla didn't let many people into Jacqueline Torres' life.
Sadly, I just found 2 pictures in my phone. She wasn't around our family.
Between that, being removed from New Britain schools, and Jacqueline's father moving out of state, Yaxie says that's how she believes the girl's disappearance went unnoticed since death about a year ago.
I would have definitely asked questions. I would have made phone calls. I would have done anything that was in my power to find out what was going on.
On Tuesday, Carla and her sister Jacqueline, as well as her boyfriend Jonathan, all made their first appearances in court.
Those are not my nieces. Those are not the girls that I raised. They look crazy, like...
Yaxie is the one who shouted from the gallery while Jonathan stood before a judge.
Get out of here, get out of the courtroom.
Yes, that was me. Even if Carla or Jacqueline was the one who came out last, I was still going to have the same reaction that I had.
Which was?
Which was anger, the outburst. You're a baby killer. You're a pig. You're disgusting. I hope you get what you deserve.
You know, I just have to say they've got really good genetics. You know, the mom looks younger than her daughters. Isn't that wild? I don't know what else to put on there, but I was reading, you know, sometimes I get on here and I forget how to use it. I forget how to use the StreamYard. I want to read this to you guys because I think it's pretty interesting. A little late, you know, considering Harmony's case was a while ago. They could have done something, you know, and why couldn't Harmony's mom taken some of that money and helped change laws? Okay. No, I minimized this so I could see it. I have got 3 StreamYards going here. Okay. Calls for homeschooling regulations in Connecticut grow after Jacqueline Torres Garcia's tragic death. Okay, so where? I need to minimize this. So I know that you got, oh my God. Okay. Where did it go? Ugh. Okay, that. There we go. Okay. Yeah, see, my internet just for being fiber optic sure is awfully slow.
Well, tomorrow the community is expected to hold a vigil for 11-year-old Jacqueline Mimi Torres Garcia. It'll be at New Bright Plaza in New Britain starting at 4 p.m.
Jacqueline's remains were found more than a week ago at an abandoned home. Police arrested her mother, aunt, and the mother's boyfriend. Investigators say Jacqueline was likely malnourished and abused and was killed last fall. New Britain's mayor says Jacqueline was last listed as being homeschooled.
And her death has once again put a spotlight on Connecticut's lack of regulation when it comes to students who are homeschooled.
Where we have not improved yet is how we follow up on children who are permanently withdrawn from school for the stated purpose of homeschooling.
Now, on Tuesday, we told you about a report from the state's child advocate in 2017. In it were several recommendations for state agencies, including DCF, after the death of Matthew Tirado. Police say the 17-year-old was documented as being homeschooled before he died from abuse and neglect. Fox 61's Annette Montgomery joins us in studio now. And Annette, I know today you spoke with Sarah Egan, who was the child advocate at the time.
Yeah, so Annette, does she have any recommendations for something, especially after what happened 8 years ago?
She had several recommendations, and when it comes to whether it's been applied, it really depends on what recommendations we're talking about. Egan acknowledged since 2017 the state has improved its ability to track chronic absenteeism and improved how it tracks students who move from one district to another. But where she says Connecticut is still lacking and falls behind many other states is how agencies follow up on students who are pulled from a school district for the purpose of homeschooling.
Connecticut is one of only a handful of states in the country that do not have an express framework for follow-up on children who have been permanently withdrawn from school.
In 2025, Sarah Egan is mirroring the same sentiments after the death of 11-year-old Jacqueline Mimi Torres Garcia that she did back in 2017 in this 84-page investigative report.
I think it does, again, raise the question of how do we protect the most vulnerable children in our society? People who are homeschooling have made a decision that's right for their child and their family. It's really about how do systems talk to each other when children are removed for other purposes.
One recommendation included in the Office of the Child Advocate's report that still hasn't been applied 8 years later is this one: improving the safety net for children who are withdrawn from school for the purpose of homeschooling.
Safeguards can and must be put in place to ensure that other individuals who have no intention of homeschooling do not use the guise of homeschooling as a way to hide their children from child welfare authorities. Right. And so I do give a lot of credit to the governor's office for continuing to urge consideration.
She gives a lot of credit. No, ma'am, no credit. There has been too many children gone because of people not doing their job. No credit for these people. None. No.
duration and resolution of that, but we have not yet finalized that.
While Egan made it clear there's not a direct correlation between a child being abused and being homeschooled, she believes the lack of regulation in the state for students who are homeschooled makes it easier for Connecticut children to go unnoticed. Back in 2017, the OCA referred to state agencies as working in silos. And in 2025, Egan says that still hasn't changed.
I think we're still operating in different silos here, right? Because we continue to see year in, year out examples of children who have been pulled away from public view and been subjected to terrible abuse and neglect.
All right. So Annette, we're talking about the lack of regulation here in Connecticut. When was the last time the state updated or changed its homeschooling laws?
Well, the State Department of Education did tell me that Connecticut's laws and regulations surrounding homeschool documentation have remained unchanged for the past 20 to 25 years. And they are governed by statute, not the Department of Education.
So is this something that we could see change anytime soon?
Egan does tell me homeschooling regulations were looked at in the last legislative session, and she does know lawmakers have committed to looking at it again this session.
And I know that off camera, I asked you, I said, wait, what do other states look like? Are we
Stop
one of the
waiting
few,
for these people to be
going on?
Connecticut is one of between 8 to 11 states
vote
in the
on
country
stuff.
that
Get
have
this
no
stuff taken
regulations when it
care
comes to
of
homeschooling at all.
now.
Okay, so it's
These
not uncommon
children's
across the
lives
country.
depend
All right.
on
Thank you,
it.
Annette.
I don't get it. The children's lives are depending on this, and they're waiting for legislation to get back in. They can't wait. Too many children are already gone. This is the lady that found that called the police when she saw the guy drop off the bin, the storage bin. Wow. I'm gonna have to call them back out here. This is ridiculous. It shouldn't be like this. I guess maybe I'll have to end and call my internet company. Makes me think I should have stayed with who I was with.
And new tonight, a woman who claims to be one of the anonymous tipsters who found the body of 11-year-old
I'm so sorry.
Jacqueline Torres Garcia has now come forward, speaking at Fox 61 News at 5. I'm Tim Lambert.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. She recounts the chilling details of.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have
Finding
to
that
call it
storage bin,
quits,
hoping
y'all,
it was just full of
because my
clothes, only to
internet's not
realize
gonna
it contained a
cooperate.
body.
Now, Fox 61's Jamel Johnson
Let's
has
see.
her story on the moments leading up to that discovery.
Behind me is the abandoned home where police found the body of Jacqueline Mimi Torres Garcia. But a woman we spoke with who goes by Love says she and her friend are the ones who reported the crime to New Britain police. Since her memorial was created, dozens of people have come to pay their respects to Mimi. One of them was Love, who says she was the anonymous tipster who helped New Britain police find the 11-year-old's body.
I wanted to believe it was a clothes bin of clothes. I really didn't want to believe it was a body. Your heart races. Your heart races.
Love says her friend knew the 11-year-old's mother's boyfriend, Jonathan Nanita. She says he started to leave breadcrumbs in their conversations about killing someone and where the body was.
He kind of just told the wrong person where she was, and we came and investigated it, and it was a body. Jonathan kind of told on himself, really.
Love says Nanita told her friend the person who was killed was a, quote, bad man and that they, quote, deserved it. She says they launched a self-investigation to find the body, but were shocked when it turned out to be Mimi's.
I was disgusted, but I had a feeling anyways it was a human because she did tell me that he said it was a bad man. So I was disgusted. I was devastated when I found out it was a little girl.
She says their discovery led New Britain police to this house on Clark Street, where they recovered the storage bin, and the autopsy confirmed the body's identity belonged to Mimi. Since the discovery, police have arrested Nanita, the girl's mother, Carla Garcia, and her aunt, Jacqueline Garcia. After learning about the prolonged abuse police say Mimi endured, Love wishes someone could have saved her, but says she's glad they found her when they did.
She deserves her peace. And I'm happy I could do that for her family.
New Britain police and DCF say they made contact with other children who belong to the family, but those children are safe. In New Britain, Jamel Johnson, Fox 61.
Nature gives us what we need to
All
protect
right, everybody.
ourselves.
I'm gonna have to call
Like
it
elderberries.
quits.
Nature's
I'm
way
gonna have to call
combined these
my
with vitamin
internet
C.
company and have them come out and look at my internet. But you all have a wonderful day, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I know I thought I was more put together with the live. I apologize. I'm trying. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and y'all have a wonderful day and stay safe. All right, have a good one.